Good evening everyone. Today let us discuss about k-means clustering algorithm. First of all, what is clustering? Clustering is the process of dividing the data sets into groups consisting of similar data points. Points in the same group are similar as possible. Points in different group are as dissimilar as possible. Now let us discuss about k-means clustering. K-means clustering algorithm tries to group similar items in the form of clusters. The number of groups is represented by k. If k equal to 2, there will be 2 clusters. It is a centroid based algorithm where each cluster is associated with a centroid. The main aim of this algorithm is to minimize the sum of distances between the data point and the corresponding clusters. Now let us see an example. Consider the data set which consists of height and weight. These are the data points. Let us consider the 5 data points here. Let us consider this first data point belongs to the cluster K1 and the second data point belongs to cluster K2. Our main aim is to find the data points to which they belong to different clusters. Here there are 2 different clusters and 5 data points. 1 and 2 belongs to K1 and K2 clusters. We have to find out 3, 4, 5 data points belongs to which cluster. For this, we have to calculate the distance from this data point to the cluster K1 and this data point with the cluster K2. For cluster K1, we have calculated the distance of data point 3 corresponding to data point 1. We obtained 20.8 and for cluster 2, we got the resultant value as 4.48. We have to consider the lowest value. So, the data point 3 belongs to the cluster K2. The resultant cluster will be as follows. Now we have to calculate the new centroid for these 2 clusters. As any data point there are no changes in the data points in cluster 1. Extra data point 3 has added into cluster 2. The updated new centroid is as follows. Updated centroids for cluster K1 and K2 are 168, 80 and 169, 58. Now for the data point 4, the centroids are in cluster 1 is this one and centroid for cluster 2 is this one. We have to calculate the distance from this data point to the 4th data point. Square root of 179 minus 168 whole square plus 80 minus 68 whole square. For cluster 2, distance equal to 179 minus 169 whole square, 69 minus 58 whole square. The obtained values are 7.21 and 14.14. As the distance calculated for cluster K1 is very less compared to cluster K2, the data point 4 belongs to cluster K1. So, in cluster K1, the data points are 1, 4 and in cluster K2, 2, 3. In this way, we have to find all the data points to which cluster they belong to. In this example, as number of clusters are 2, we have taken k value as 2 and this algorithm has grouped the similar items in the form of clusters and the similar data points are represented in same cluster. Thank you.